Let's call the meeting to order. It is 6 o'clock, and we'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I understand our special guest might help lead us in that. So, kids, if you want to kick it off.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, please. All right, so thank you. I know that the Student Showcase did not make the agenda, but we are so thrilled to have a Student Showcase. It has been 2 years since we have had, well, more than 2 years since we've had this opportunity. So I want to thank Mrs. Green for offering to have her students come and present. Tonight we have Caleb Corriveau, Aria DeTeo, and
Dadio.
Say it one more time.
Dadio.
Dadio, thank you, and Scarlett Webb. It's all yours.
All right, so Scarlett Webb's going to present first, then Aria and Caleb at the end. We might have another friend who sneaks in at some point, but we will start with Miss Scarlett. So we're going to move the box here. We'll move around here. Come on up.
My animal I researched was a fennec fox. The fennec fox lives in the desert. Its ears are good for hearing like insects underground and mice. Did you know that fennec foxes are one of the smallest foxes in the world? That is the animal I researched. Any questions?
How big is the fox?
Mostly it's like small.
Very small.
Very small.
Well, not like the size it is.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Yes.
What country is the fennec fox from?
North Africa.
Oh.
And I think that's all.
This is my animal project. It's about lions. Lions have many different body features. One of them is their tail. It helps them balance. A lion eats many different animals. Some of the animals that lions prey on are zebra, impalas, and gazelles. Lions mostly live in savannas in Africa. Sometimes you can find lions in zoos. Those are some facts about the lion. Any questions?
Do you know what kind of food they eat?
They're carnivores, so they eat
Like what kind? Like
animals.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite lion from a movie, perhaps?
I think I like one.
Like what kind of like kind of lion and maybe like Lion King?
That's
Like Scar.
I like Simba.
Simba's good.
Great job.
The animal that I researched was a red panda. Red pandas can live in all of Asia. Not a lot of people know about the red panda. Their population is really low. Red pandas eat them food and fruit and berries. Red pandas spend most of the day in trees. Also, the red pandas that their fur colors are red, black, and white. That is what I researched for the grandparents.
Take a closer look at your nice.
And we do have a lot of other ones, so as you guys are leaving, all the students from our class have all their animal projects up there.
And I think
Thank you so very much. Thank you for coming.
Do you know when we would do evening?
Thank you very much for scheduling.
Thank you, Mrs. Green.
Thank you.
Nice to have that.
Movie that came out with Red Panda, right? Did you see it?
All right, well, we will proceed
It's
with
pretty good.
the regular agenda items, starting with approval of the minutes from March 3rd.
Yeah, what's that?
Discussion.
What are the ones you need those?
All in favor of the minutes? Next up, we have the financial report.
Ready?
That's me, and we are, once again, we're on track. 61% expenses, and then 36% encumbered for the year, which is right on track with where we've been in other years. As we look through this, we can see one area of concern, that is special ed transportation. As you may or may not know, special ed transportation has been very difficult this year in trying to find drivers, filling all those slots. So a little bit of that overage is having to farm out some of our special ed transportation, as well as just keep the ongoing operations in light of COVID. We are getting over the hump, but if you know anyone who wants to drive a special ed van,
Or a big bus.
come see me, yes.
Big bus, minivan. We're plodding through, we're doing okay. You're gonna put it in your newsletter.
Yeah.
Because the big buses are struggling too, and we're getting through, but it's been rough. There's been a number of routes that needed to be collapsed or adjusted. When we cannot meet a new need, especially in special ed, we've been reaching out to McCarthy, who has picked up some special ed runs. Dan Pool used to be a vendor, not as reliable. So that obviously when we go to McCarthy, the cost is higher. Gas is higher anyway, so both of these, both our regular transportation and our special ed are realizing increase for gasoline. And what I was going to mention, and I will kind of queue up now, we also have additional special needs placements. So we've got more runs, and I'm actually going to queue up the finance committee in about an hour because I'm leaving here and running to meet them at the town hall to say, since the budget that we locked in, we've had 4 special ed placements. Now remember, it's not all elementary because your budget also covers the special ed placement for your secondary, so Sturbridge only pays for Sturbridge. But we're really struggling, especially with some, behavioral, social, some mental health issues that are happening. So those 4 not only are anticipated tuitions now next year that are not in our budget, but also more runs. And I cannot say, I do not believe it's a 1-for-1. I don't think it's 4 more runs. I think at least 1 or 2 are going to placements that we already had a run going, so that will help. But I'm anticipating, we are concerned. We're already looking into the budget, trying to be prepared. Where can we squeeze things? I'm not ready to hit the panic button. I'm going to queue up finance committee. But a lot can happen between now and September, October, November. Other shifts can happen. We also did have 2 retirements notices after we built this budget. So those replacements will help offset. So that's why I'm not in panic mode yet. I think we go forward with the budget we asked for, but just sort of queuing them up ahead of time that we do have some bubbles that we're keeping an eye on. And your town has always been pretty open to hearing us talk to them in the middle of the school year if we anticipate some concerns. It's a little too early. So that being said, though, for this year, we do have, if you'll remember, you got rural aid, which could be spent on absolutely anything within your budget, school related. So at this point in time, Steve and I are thinking we're probably going to end up using that for special ed transportation to offset the overage, and we anticipate getting through this budget fine. The only other thing on there actually is we wanted to take a minute and go through with you. The plan is very similar on the ESSER funding. If you recall, last year we presented you a plan that we thought would be sort of a 3-year plan, even though it's 2 chunks of federal funds. The life of these funds are over 3 years, and we put a plan in place that we followed pretty closely this year, and I think our anticipation is to be very similar next year, although I gotta tell you, what I'm looking at is a little, this is not the right one, correct? Do you all have the one that says ESSER 2 and ESSER 3? I'm gonna put that at hold and come back to you next month, because it's been tweaked a little bit. You all know, the ELL teacher we put in the budget. We are going to still need a little bit of ELL support, and I'll get to that in my report, but we're gonna put this back on the agenda for next month, because this is a 50-page. It doesn't look a lot different, but I'll look at it. Yep. Nope, not good. Too many versions of these things floating around. So that's it for finances for right now.
Anyone have any other questions? Okay. Moving on to communications.
Just, you should have all received in the last month the quarterly Southern Worcester County collaborative report that we're obligated to send you, and we save a few trees and send it electronically.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next up, Mrs. Carter, the schedule report.
As you can see, enrollment continues to steadily creep up. Want to recognize Claire Johnson, who was honored by Country Bank in partnership with the Worcester Blue Sox Foundation as the recipient of their January Most Valuable Teacher Award. Mrs. Johnson was nominated by her student, Callie Butcher. I want to thank you to Burgess PTO for hosting the annual Jogathon. The event has raised more than $60,000 to put toward the purchase of Chromebooks. A particular thank you to Kristen Sabelis for her hard work and enthusiasm leading to such a successful fundraiser. Curriculum instruction and assessment, report cards have gone out, parent-teacher conferences were held virtually. You should have received a survey, connected survey to complete as well. The teachers did as well as far as how we'll move forward. Give us some feedback that way. ELA and MCAS took place Tuesday and Wednesday. Things went incredibly well. We tested the entire building. 2 days. If you recall, back in the day when we first started the online testing, we had 21 days of testing for MCAS, and we are looking at 6, not including the makeup days, which is just a really, a credit to all of your hard work in getting us the funding to provide the technology to allow that to happen, so we don't impact the regular schedule as significantly as we have in the past. Kindergarten registration is always ongoing. We're at 92. Screening will take place May 3rd and 4th. The annual Burgess Talent Show, actually kindergarten through grade 3 took place last night. And simply joyful to just have an assembly with families and kids and providing an opportunity, a more traditional opportunity for our students. So I thank Bethany Wolfing and Dan Corthell for their hard work and the staff who came to support the event. Burgess Band Spring Concert will be held on Thursday, June 9th, followed by the advanced band participating in the Great East Musical Festival on Friday, June 10th. I do have some things that didn't make the agenda. You may have heard Mr. Garin has been working really closely with the Select Board and others, and we have actually been awarded $75,000 to rehab the infields of all of our fields. So a tremendous thank you to Paul on that and to all of the select board members who supported it. Mrs. Ventuello, spring cleanup. Mrs. Green, I probably should have asked her to stay for a minute, but she and Tammy Howe are going to head up a little soft one for this year. They're going to reach out to the National Honor Society and then see where we need, because we are very much aware that our high school students need community service hours, so we're going to look to target them to help us for this year, but hopefully to be able to open it up and have it become a tradition here at Burgess. We talked previously about field trips. We have selected dates. All of our grades K through 6 will be traveling on an individual day over to the village just to have a more typical experience, field trip experience. When we started planning this, as you'll recall, we didn't know where we were going to be with COVID, but we needed to set things in motion. Transportation is also weighed into our decision-making when we had control over the timing of the day and it was close to getting children back and forth. 6th grade celebration activities, planning is underway. I have a meeting, I believe, next Wednesday to firm up everything. I think the date is for the celebration itself is June 15th. There will be a separate field trip for the 6th grade. Prior to that, we're looking at the ropes course out in Berlin in a day like that, similar to what we had structured pre-pandemic. That's it for me.
So I just wanted to say that I'm really excited that families were back in school and talent show was back on and that we're doing field trips. I wanted to especially thank Mrs. Kelly, Mr. Guerin, the Board of Selectmen, and also the ARPA committee for the field regeneration. I think that's great. I do want to maybe kind of implement or put on an agenda upcoming something to maintain the fields. I know that was a concern with some residents and also some of the Board of Selectmen, just so we can kind of head that off. So we're not in the position where we were in now. So I would like to say that, but I'm so happy that all this progress is being made, and I thank you for your hard work, and I thank Mr. Guerin, and I know it was a lot, so I know people really appreciate it.
We do have some preliminary planning as far as the maintenance. Steve will be actually overseeing a lot of that with support from Mr. Weatherby will be overseeing a lot of that with support from Steve.
I have a question about the Chromebooks, and so it seems like I feel like I'm always seeing we're buying Chromebooks. What's the lifespan of a Chromebook, and what are we paying? Like, is there some sort of a volume discount?
Oh, there's tremendous volume, and Greg Rosso handles that. I don't know what the life expectancy is. I know that the original ones that we purchased are primarily in 5th grade, and those are starting to definitely need replacement. But we're also going to be replacing iPads, not all of them, but iPads with Chromebooks. So we've systematically gone down the line. Chromebooks are definitely a lot less expensive. They have the Google Classroom platform. So grade 2, so we've gone all the way down. Grade 3 currently we've gone to grade 3 with all Chromebooks. We'll do all of grade 2 with Chromebooks with this funding from PTO, and then we'll see where we land from there. Because the iPads are actually quite old. Some of them are more than 8 years old, and the operating systems that we need that are required to run certain programs are no longer applicable to that model.
The Chromebook, we get Chromebooks for like just over $300, which iPads are twice as much. So it really is almost 2 to 1. And the iPads and the apps, they definitely seem to age quicker. The Chromebooks, the tech guys are almost to the point where they think of them as disposable. If they totally break, we don't panic over breaking a $300 Chromebook. The iPads at $600 and they crack screens. So, but the Chromebooks are pretty durable. They're getting a little. Some of the original ones are getting a little old, but really it's more of a kind of worn situation than not still working on basic. I use Wi-Fi these days,
So we pretty much have one for every student through grade 2?
For Chromebooks, we currently have one for every student grades 3 through 6. There are Chromebooks available to grade 2. There are some carts available, but they're shared. And then we have iPads for all of the students in grade 2. The shared carts between in grade 1, and I believe is it shared carts in kindergarten too at this point, Laurie?
3 carts.
Yeah, so it's shared
Shared
carts.
between 2 teachers.
But again, the iPads are getting actually quite old. I mean, not that we would totally eliminate it because they do have a place, but the Chromebook becomes more of a functional tool, especially considering Google Suite.
And that's what the kids are using for the MCAS testing.
Right, which is a really important point, and thank you for bringing that up, because we received a notice just prior to administration about, I think, don't ask me what iOS for the iPad that we needed to be on, and we weren't actually quite sure that all of them would have it. We wouldn't have been able to run TestNav, which is the platform for MCAS, off of those devices with that outdated iOS. But the iPads that we have, I just think were updated to that iOS.
Any other questions for Mrs. Kelly? All right, thank you. Next up, the superintendent's report, Mrs. Boyd.
Okay, there's a couple of notes there just to remind me, and then a few others. Just a reminder, the very beginning of your May meeting, we'll put the annual school choice public hearing, which you legally have to have. If you don't have a meeting, if you don't have a public hearing and vote not to be school choice, you are. So I don't anticipate a recommendation any different in the past, which is to not participate, but we need to formally just have that quick hearing to allow anyone who might want to say differently. June, just the heads up, if we continue with tradition, our June meeting for a number of years now has been the same day as your town meeting. So instead of your first Thursday of the month, which normally would be June 2nd, the town meeting is the 6th. And if we're going to continue with that, we would just plan on meeting at the high school in the cafeteria at our normal 6 o'clock time, and then scoot into the auditorium for the town meeting. You let me know by next month if that is not, something you want to continue. I think unanimous consent is fine, unless someone says that is not going to work for them, we'll post it. I know 2 of you will not be voting. You'll be at the meeting, but not voting. You'll be at the town meeting anyway.
I was like, wait, were you
I will be looking for you. Just a couple of other quick ones. As I mentioned, immediately after this meeting, Steve and I are going to go and meet with the Finance Committee. For a number of years, they've had a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen. It's usually been on Saturdays, and I've been able to make it. Instead of this year, it was last Thursday, and I was in another community negotiating and could not make it. But certainly volunteered to go meet with the Finance Committee and answer any questions they have, and I will let you know if there are any concerns. I don't think there will be any, but I'll let you know. So we're going to head there right from here. And I kind of already queued up a little bit that we probably would be recommending a little more ESSER funding in the areas of English learners. While last month I was touting our fabulous 0 findings for the tiered focus monitoring on special ed programs, we did have a few notes/finding on the tiered focus monitoring section from the Office of Language and Acquisition, and that is across the district. They're not huge ones, they're more kind of documentation and the need to have a little more SEI endorsed teachers, which is an endorsement that all newly licensed teachers have to get, but those who were licensed previously have not all taken the course. So there's a few areas that we do need to address next year, and we have some plans in the area of our English learners. As we mentioned during the public hearing, the population is significantly higher across the district, so we want to make sure that we've got the appropriate staffing to work with them directly and also document everything that the state's asking us to document. So I'll mention that again next month when we're talking about ESSER funds, but just wanted to let you know while I was tooting one perfect report, another one had, and none of them were, no, you're not doing it all. They usually give you delivering, partially delivering, or not delivering at all. We had nothing in the not delivering. There were just a few in the partially that they want us to ramp up on, and we will. And other than that, I just wanted to end with a happy birthday to your principal, Mrs.
Happy birthday. It's my mom's birthday too.
Oh, there you go. Her staff was lovely first thing this morning. They invited me first thing this morning to give her a little happy birthday celebration before the buses rolled in. So I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you to my staff, they were wonderful, thank you so much.
That is it for now.
Thank you very much. We're up on our first public access. To chime in on anything or any questions? All right. Next up, subcommittee reports.
So your negotiations committee did meet, and we're going to go into executive session to update you on that.
Got it. Okay. Then moving on to Tantasco, Mary.
All right, so the last meeting was the public hearing for the budget. Voted forward a budget of $26,341,533, which is a 4.4% increase. After the public hearing, we had a really nice art show, which was really impressive, and just as impressive were the students who showed up to speak to us. It was amazing how well spoken they were, and just sort of said what the art program means to them, because I don't know if you guys know it yet, but they have amazing things over there within the art program. So I highly recommend it if the kids have room in their schedules, which is a big if. The last day of school is going to be June 17th. At the time, we were talking about the principal search, but earlier this week it was announced that that they have chosen Lee Joseph, who was acting principal for the past year. And she's done a great job in a tough year, and happy to hear she's signed on to be permanent. Graduation, June 11th. The rain date is the 12th. Other than that, you're looking for something to do the first weekend in May. They are putting on Mamma Mia up at the high school, and I'm sure it's going to be fantastic.
And you've got local representative, the acting advisor for the play this year is your own Tyler Evans.
And some of you have
really?
come to some of the
Yep.
presentation, the programs that he's done,
Yep.
so we're very, very proud of Tyler.
Yep.
Taking
Very
that
cool.
on. He's very excited.
Yep.
Yeah. That is it.
Okay. Next up is unfinished business.
You pass those down. The first chunk of unfinished, there have been no changes or questions or concerns, but the wrong version of the field trips ended up in your packet. So I mentioned last month that we wanted to leave in the paragraph at the end there about overnight trips, even though we don't currently have them. So the version I'm sending down is the one that you would be voting on. And again, no questions or changes, so I don't know if you voted them last month in one full swoop or first the amendments and then the rescinds. Karen, how would you like it?
That's how it was.
The two separate ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll start by making a motion to approve upon, this is our second reading?
Yep, second reading and adoption.
The following amend and adoption.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
IHBF, IJL, IJOA, JD.
That's it for that one.
Second. I will second
All in favor of approving those that I just said, second reading and adoption. Any discussion on those four policies?
Yeah, just the motion to rescind IJJ and IJOB1.
the motion I'll make is to rescind upon second reading and adoption, IJJ and IJOB1.
Second.
Any discussion on those? All in favor?
So then you have another stack of new ones, and I will run through them, and you can decide how you want to vote. The very first one you have is actually not an amendment. No, it is actually a vote for first reading. This is not one that you have on your books. MASC does have it, and Tantascwa has it in a different version. At Tantascwa, it's pretty much the health and sex ed classes. This is really a policy talking about what is age appropriate here at the elementary, and that we do fifth grade
We've done
curriculum?
5th and 6th.
Yeah, and goes through that we do have these programs, and then parent has the right to opt out. So we recommend we put it on the books. I think it was an oversight, because you can have a kind of elementary version of this as opposed to what the secondary would have. So that would be a new one. The next couple negotiations, HB, is, as you can see the edits there, which is really to strike out. This middle paragraph was dealing a lot with what used to be agency fee. And the law a number of years ago changed to say the unions can't force members to pay an agency fee. So we've taken out the language that refers to activity fees and agency fees that still need to be paid. And that, again, is at the legal suggestion in MASC. IJ is really just housekeeping to call this what it really is, instructional material selection, that you folks really are budgetarily responsible, but we always go through a process of, we go through the pilots. We report as we're going through the pilots. It's always a pretty collective decision. And then, as has happened often, the Tantascwa subcommittee suggests striking these middle two paragraphs because they are more sort of editorial, philosophical, and we like to just stick to the facts in our policies. That is the suggestion for that one. IKAB, similar. That first paragraph is more editorializing, and then just adding the one line in there about progress reports based on full information accuracy, just to make it very clear and confidential. IKE, again, first line being stricken just because it feels it needs to hear itself. That is the end of the amended ones. The last three, we're looking to rescind. Video usage in classrooms already is in your policy. I'm sorry, in your student handbooks. And the elementary principals really want to leave it in the handbook, and where they have the ability, say for example, ratings change, because the movie industry changes their rules all the time, gives them the ability to change that. They also feel that G-only movies barely exist, and you can find them for kindergarten, but beyond that, there's a number of appropriate films that can be shown in a PG area, even at a fourth and third or fourth. So we want to stick to keeping that in the student handbook and get rid of the policy.
Is there reference to ratings in the handbook though, or is it when a movie's going to be shown? I feel like the parent,
The rating is in there, and it's rated as a G pretty much across the board.
So it may be coming to you with some edits to that.
We're going to be
Yes.
looking at our
Yes.
okay.
Yep, exactly. JA and JAB are no longer MASC policies. I think, again, as a number of other things, they've said these really are more processes and protocols than policies. So we're looking to rescind those.
All right, so we'll tackle these in groups, I think, right? Starting with the first one, since it's the new one. So I'll make the motion to approve upon first reading the new policy IHAM1.
Second?
Any discussion on this one?
Is this, I do. So I know that we talked about it was primarily for 5th and 6th grade. Is it strictly for 5th and 6th grade?
Yes.
Okay.
We've had some conversation about just 6th grade.
Okay.
We haven't done this in 2 years due to COVID.
Right,
So,
okay. Okay.
something that we talk about.
So, I guess my question for you, Mrs. Kelly, is, so it sounds like if any parent wants to opt their child out, they are notified that this is coming up with the 2 weeks lead time. They're gonna write to you directly?
I think we may, I'm not sure what we're going to do. That's part of a more conversation, whether it is a permission slip for
Yeah.
all students to send home. That way we might have the assurance that everybody has had an opportunity to respond and we can track it to make certain that
Yeah.
everybody is there. I think that that's probably the way we will lean, at least for the first year.
It seems like a lot of, I don't know how you look for you, if you're getting all these letters through email, or who knows how that people contact you about this.
But more importantly, it's probably, we could have some follow-up to that. And I think if we're, sending home permission slips, then the teacher's going to count that we have a permission slip for each child. Or an,
Right. And then, I'm assuming when if I opt my child out, there's something,
we would have an alternate activity for that.
And that goes for, I guess I'm thinking already, or crafting, like what the permission slip would look like. With what level of detail would there be access to the materials?
They would be just asked if they wanted to view the materials that we
Okay.
have. I've done this before, prior to coming to Burgess. We have it actually available for if the counselors or parent-teacher conference night. Actually, that's what I think we did, so that they could view it. I have actually enlisted the help of our school improvement council to actually, I asked for 2 parent volunteers to view the films and to give us some feedback and things like that, so to help us craft this.
Is there still room for that?
You absolutely, I'd be happy to send it to you. Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion on this one? And obviously, this is first reading, this will come up again. Marinate on it. Obviously, this is a very hot topic across the country. We're hearing a lot about this, so I guess I'm glad to see that there is a policy. I just want to make sure that it covers the bases and is respectful for all those who choose to participate.
Am I correct? This was, there's a program like this before COVID that we did, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
This has happened before.
Yes,
We
yeah.
just haven't had it in policy.
Okay, I see, thanks. It's like, I know this, I know that.
You can.
Participated in this.
Correct.
I'm gonna sing you the song.
Yeah.
And they do. They did. Okay. Any other discussion on this one? If not, then I will ask for those in favor of approving upon first reading IHAM1. Okay. The next batch, making a motion to approve upon first reading policy HB, policy IJ, policy IKAB, and IKE.
Second?
Any discussion on any of those amended policies? Hearing none? Those in favor of approving upon first reading HB, IJ, IKAB, and IKE?
last batch, the motion to approve upon first reading the rescinding of IJNDA, JA, and JAE.
Second?
Any discussion on rescinding any of those policies? All in favor? So the next thing on our agenda is we go into executive session, and since that is a private session, I'd like to take the opportunity, because this is the last official meeting of, I won't say lifers, but you know, you guys have been almost as long as me. Karen Koval and Mary Valetza, thank you for your service. Thank you. You can still come and be part of public access.
I mean, I'm putting a bunch of stuff on Facebook, and then I'm gonna actually show up.
Thank you very much. As we know, this is it's not a paying job, and sometimes it takes up a little more time than any of us ever anticipated, but appreciate your dedication and thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We need to do roll call.
Yeah, you make a motion, but then you roll call into executive session.
Okay.
And I guess we can read. Karen will copy. We're going into executive session to discuss strategy. With respect to collective bargaining, and the committee will adjourn from executive session.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so request to enter executive session under MGL Chapter 30A, 21A3 to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. The committee will adjourn for executive session. Chui, yes.
Velez, yes.
It's yes.
Koval, yes.
32, yes.